this hat I just liked. I liked the way that it looked. Like I just did it one day, and then I just started doing all my hats like that.
Yeah.
But the weird thing is, ever since those videos have been going crazy, I have gotten condom head. People think I look like a fire hydrant.
You need to call it the or something like. We have my good friend Kyle with us on the podcast today, Kyle Treadwell. Kyle's a friend that I met here at WealthCon. We are in Vegas right now, and I met him probably last year about this time.
Yeah, I want to say it was about this time.
And I noticed his great hat choice, very unique. I was also the guy in the room with the hat that was unique. So tell the viewers a little bit about what you do. Introduce yourself a little bit.
Okay. Well, so my story, we can start from the beginning or we can start from like the last 10 years or so. But I would say born and raised in Maine. Moved out here because I worked in the music industry the previous 10 years of my life. I moved out here because everyone comes to Vegas. It's a lot easier to link up with people that I was trying to meet and be a part of that world here than it was back in Maine, because I would have to travel to Boston, New York, everywhere. Like, it just was a mess.
Everybody has a show or an event in Vegas at some point.
It's a lot easier to get connected out here.
Yep.
So I moved out here, and then I basically was going through, like, during the COVID era, it was really difficult for me because I was going through, like, if I wanted to still be in the music industry, had a couple artists that, like, didn't want to do music anymore and wanted to go on a different journey of their life, which I was fully okay with, but it left me in a place where I was like, I had relationships with these people that I had known for years, and I'd done like marketing campaigns for them. I worked on a lot of the stuff with them, but the second that I couldn't do anything for them anymore, they all just stopped kind of calling or answering my phone. Gotcha. So I looked at these people as friends. Like, I thought that they were family, like all that kind of stuff, and it turns out like that just really hit me here in my being, and I was like, I wasn't okay. It took a real big toll on my mental health, and we had like thousands of playlists that all got deleted by Spotify because we were basically running ads into these playlists and running them like radio stations, and then having artists like pitch us songs and we put them on the playlist, and that's kind of how we were making like our money. But Spotify, I want to say it was a jealousy thing, or they wanted to roll out something similar like them, which is now discovery mode. If you know, you know. But more of the story, we had that service prior to them rolling it out, and we were their enemy, so they deleted all of our playlists, and now that was half of the reason why I stepped out of the music industry, because everything that I had worked on for the last 5 or 6 years had just been deleted overnight.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Dude, so that's cool, because I find that as like a success story, right? Mm-hmm. Because nobody, like I've said this multiple times, nobody ever has like, oh yeah, everything was going great and smooth, so I started this different thing, and that's why I'm being so successful today, because everything was perfect.
Right.
The success story is always, I lost everything, and that's why I learned this or that, and that's why I'm successful.
Yeah, and from following up that in the dark 6 to 9 to 12 months that followed after that, I tried everything. I was like building NFT projects, games. I was like trying to figure out what's next. I was like, I don't know what I'd done this for so long. I don't know what else to do. You know what I mean?
When was this? Like, what was the time period on all this?
I'll say it was like 2021.
Okay.
Like, it's really recent. Like, it was I'm just getting out of it, from lack of a better term. And I was trying to figure out all of this over the last year, and I was like, I don't know what is going to work or what's going to click, so I was just throwing everything at the wall, was making content, was doing reaction videos, was doing everything that I could to just try to get something to work. Like, Facebook was paying really well for a while, Instagram was paying really well, TikTok was paying really well for a while, and then all of their programs ended. So then I was like, okay, I gotta do something else, because that's not gonna pay my bills anymore.
Yep.
So then I got into the collectibles space. So now we wholesale collectibles and toys, and it's a lot of fun. And it's cool for me because I am just a big nerd, and it kind of crosses all of those things together.
Yep.
And I have had a blast in that space so far.
Awesome. Would you say that's like your most fun time you've had?
Yeah, definitely. As far as like, because the music industry, no matter what was stressful, like I don't have a lot of stress or anything over here. I get to watch people smile when they open like our packages and boxes and like watch like, because now I can bring someone, like if I know something's like super awesome about you, I can bring you this nice like box that has a Funko Pop of a character that you love or something like that, and when you open it you're like, oh wow, I didn't know knew that about me, or like things like that. And it's like that little bit I love, like that gives me the biggest rush in like everything that I've ever done.
Yeah,
is just watching your smile of like how much I paid attention.
Great. So I don't know anything about what you're talking about right now, but which is fine because I love this. So you said a Funko Pop?
Yeah, I'm sure you've seen them.
Like they the ones with like the big heads?
Yeah, the big old heads. So can I tell you how that happened?
Yeah, tell me.
Okay, so
anything and everything, bro.
The Funko Pop venture started because I visited my good friend in New York, and we were actually there because I was going to propose to Rossetti.
Okay.
But so we were out there for I think it was my birthday, and I was hanging out planning the proposal with my good friend, and he was showing me all of his like Funko Pops, right? So I'm looking at these and I'm like, bro, you've got like almost 1,000 of these in these rooms. And I was like, what's the whole thing? Like, what's your thing? He's like, bro, I get them so I can trade them at Comic-Con, like New York Comic-Con.
Gotcha.
And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, they've got a lot of value. Like, he's like, this one's worth like 200, this one's worth like 500. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, no kidding.
I was very confused, and then I looked into it, and I was like, no way. Like, this is how, because like the stickers, the different stickers that are on them make them have different rarities, different, like some of them are limited to like 1,000, and like they sell on like eBay or like my website or Amazon or all these places for like ungodly amounts of price.
So it's just like trading cards or anything else. NFTs, they all have rarities to them.
Yeah, so recently a guy just sold a golden ticket 2-pack Funko Pop of Willy Wonka for $250,000.
No way.
I shit you not.
Of a little figurine with a head.
Yeah, 2 of them.
Okay. So,
but there's like versions of them out there that are worth that much. Like there are some from like 2015, 2010 that are like a couple thousand a piece, like, and it's just like the older Pokemon cards or like things like that where it's like they're a dead stock, like you can't get them anymore. So if you like, I guess what Funko calls them is they're vaulted, right? So they're not actively making more of them.
Gotcha.
But once they get vaulted, the value tends to go up. So yeah, so I got into
so what's like the most valuable one that you've acquired, and then have you sold it or kept it? Or?
No, I have. I sold one in like it was like a 6-hour period.
Okay.
So it was this box that they were doing, I want to say a couple months ago, and you could get the box. It was like $150 or like $100, and there was a chance that a couple of the items in there could be chases, right? So chases are like a little different variant. It's like a different mold or different color or it glows in the dark or something like that. So it's like 1 in 6 has a different like thing, right? So I got this box. I open it up, and it's like the chase version that everyone's looking for. I literally have my live stream going because I live auction them on Whatnot. Okay. And I literally opened it on stream, put it on the pedestal, and sold it for like $250 in like a second.
Nice. Like, just that one, not like the whole box.
Not the whole box, just that one item that was in there.
Dang.
Yeah. So I had already made my money on the box. I had already made an extra like $150, and then I still could sell all the other items inside the box.
Crazy. So what do you make on the whole box?
The whole box, probably $500 all in.
Dang, dude.
Yeah.
Nice, bro. Like, so you've always been kind of like an entrepreneur.
100%.
Okay. Is there any time where you were not an entrepreneur?
No. I think I worked at Wendy's once for like 3 months, and I was like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. The longest job I think I ever had is I worked at GameStop. Gotcha. And that was like kind of what got me into the whole nerd thing. Yeah. Well, I was just a nerd to begin with, like just a nerdy ass kid. You know what I mean? So
you said something we haven't talked about it, but you were like, it's one thing that I can talk about that I used to get picked on. Mm-hmm. So if you want, like, you don't have to, but we can go a little bit into like your upbringing. Like, were you the odd man out?
I was a headphone kid.
Okay.
So if that makes
Were you the emo kid too?
No.
Okay.
I was never an emo kid. Yeah. I was just I would say an emotional upbringing, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
Like, I grew up without my father. I was moving around, like, after my mom got divorced from her husband that wasn't my dad, and I found out that he wasn't my real dad. My brain went from being like in a stable place to being like, I don't know what's real anymore. So, like, I found out I had a half sister. I found out, like, my dad wasn't my real dad. I found out all of this stuff that, like, kind of made the world that I had, like, was growing up in kind of collapse on itself.
Crazy, yeah.
So then I got, like, lost in, like, that, like, I wonder why he doesn't want me. Like, why isn't he here? No one had any answers for me.
Yeah.
And I got caught in that, like, thing. So
how old were you when that happened?
I'm gonna say like 11.
Okay.
Like, it could have been earlier than that, but it was like my first year in middle school, whatever age that is.
Okay.
And then I was like growing up, and like all the emotions that I was dealing with, plus like all the yelling and everything at home, and I just turned to music. And I always had my headphones on. I was always listening to something, max volume. Like, music saved my life. Like, 1,000%. I'll always owe that, which is why I wanted to get into music when I, like, got out of school. Because I was like, I want to own my own record label. I want to, like, give back to music what it gave to me. And that was, like, very emotional. I didn't know who I was. I didn't feel like I had a lot of friends. I don't feel like I really had any, like, real good friends until, like, college.
Okay.
And it's not like...
Well, I think you go to college and you get, like, a different environment, too, right? Like, that's... Yeah. I experienced that a little bit, too. Like, getting out of high school and getting into college, like, I was like, the world's a little bit more opened up. I meet new people. I guess my college experience wasn't great, but... not that it was bad by any means. I just realized that wasn't the place for me.
Right.
And I dropped out of college. But yeah, like you said, it's like.
But similar to you, I grew up in a town with 4,000 people in it, and even growing up it was less than that. I think that the 4,000 numbers from like 2018. But like growing up, it was like 2,000 people. Right. So my graduating class was less than 100 kids. Right. So we knew everybody. I knew everybody, and like. I just was picked on for like I don't really to this day, like, I don't really understand why I was, but I was like the kid that never fit in with every one clique, but could like bounce between them, but never felt like I belonged in any of them. Same. So it's like I would go on the weekends and play games with like the nerdy kids. I would play football with the jocks, and I would go hang out with the art kids and like do graphic design and all that kind of stuff, but I never felt like any of those places were like home for me. And I don't really know, looking back at it, I don't really know what caused that, but it was just the truth of the situation. So
I think, comparing, like, I was kind of in the same situation. I'd moved to this new town in 5th grade, got picked on a bunch at one point back in that day. Somebody said that they told people that I was gay, and being that young, not knowing even what that meant, there was like a bad thing,
right?
Back in the day, time where I grew up, 100%. and nothing against anybody now, but like,
but it wasn't as open
it wasn't open at all,
or
like
accepted.
Yeah, so I was picked on, and I was like, no, I'm not gay, and the people would be like, no, you're gay. We know you're gay. So even into late high school, people were like, dude, I thought you were gay. Like, like, it was just such a small town that I couldn't break out of it. Right? So I struggled early on with grades and didn't want to be there and got picked on. In high school, I, eventually became class president. Or not class president, excuse me, class homecoming. Not the king, but I was in the court. Right? So, but like you said, you would go between crowds, and I think that's what kind of got me to that level. But I never really felt like I was in any one crowd.
Right.
Like I wasn't a member of the basketball team, even though I played basketball.
Right.
I didn't really fit well with the guys that were like shop class, hunting all the time. I loved art because I was creative, but I didn't fit like with that crowd at all either. I was like a little bit in everybody's circle, but I wasn't in anyone's one circle. Like I didn't have my place.
Yeah, it didn't like a place where you felt like you belonged.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I grew up in a really small town too, 2,500 people. I actually grew up on a farm. I didn't grow up in town, so that was another catalyst to keep me away, right? But yeah, so I just felt like I was always on the outside. But one of the things, I was always creative, and I think we both have that in common. Like I was always trying to create something.
100%.
I lost that like in my early 20s. I was like, well, I'm not going to create anymore. Tried starting a couple businesses. They don't work out. Went into a job and lost that. But now, the last 2 years,
Getting it back.
yeah, getting it back and in spades, and to the point where I'm like, okay, well now I have a ability to be creative. Like, boom, $3.7 million ranch deal.
Right.
Figure that out, and everybody's like, how'd you do that? And I'm like, I just bottled up the creativeness for, 8 years, and then it all came out at one time and it made it work, right?
Love that.
But yeah, so like I think we have a lot of like the same upbringing. Which, like, I feel like I connected with you the very first time.
Yeah, 100%. And that's a lot of that kind of what took me a long time to understand out here, and we talked about it a little bit, is how genuine people are in small towns and like the East Coast versus like you get into these bigger cities and places where it's like everyone's not really trying to have like an actual conversation with you. It's more like flyby, like, hey, how you doing? But they don't care. You know what I mean? It's more of just like talking to talk or to say face or whatever. And that rubbed me the wrong way for the longest time because like I'm from a place where like, again, like I told you earlier, I was like, you could call me a dickhead to my face, but I'm still gonna help you shovel your driveway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like it's just a different type of energy, and I don't know if people realize how different the East and West Coast actually are, or like small towns versus larger cities are. But it is very different. So if you come from a small town in like a place where like everybody, everyone knows your name, you're waving to all your neighbors and stuff, and then you go
and you're waving to the people just crossing the road because you're waving out.
Exactly. You're just hanging out. You're being a member of your community, right? And out here, you do that to someone, and they're like, "What's this guy waving at me for?" And I'm like, everyone's so closed off or in their own world.
You don't even know your neighbor.
Right. Yeah, and that's like just a wild thing to me. But and out here, people are living on top of each other too, right? Like that's the other thing. It's like you don't know your neighbor, but you could spit on his house. You know what I mean? Like that's so strange to me. But back home, there's like a mile between me and my neighbor, but I know his name. I know like his dog's name. I know his mom's name. Like like we bring each other snacks and stuff. Like it's cool. It's just different energy, and I don't think a lot of people understand that. And
well, I feel like in the city that everybody's trying to receive. Even if you get it all the way down to politics, not trying to go into politics on this one, but if you get all the way down to politics, like the left is majority in the cities. It's like, what can the government do for us?
Right.
And the Republicans like more like, what can we do for the government?
Right.
Or what can we do for each other? Right. And I think and if you look at the even demographics, if you look across country from across the wall, I think we talked about this.
Yeah.
Look from across the wall, it's like, oh, there's a red map. But when you get up close, it's all dotted with all the cities are blue.
Right.
And that makes up 50%, like 50-50. I think the big fear
I think that speaks to what I was just saying about the rural areas, like being very like community driven versus like the cities being like fly by, everyone's just trying to survive kind of thing, but everyone wants to make it, everyone wants to like feel included, or I guess like are trying to be a star or a celebrity or an influencer. And like back home, like people are like, bro, like how do I keep my farm alive? Like the potatoes are dying, like I got this pesticide problem. Like it's just different problems. And it's so interesting to see the two, and I wish more people would go back and forth between the two because they would be shocked.
No kidding. That's why I always tell people, like, I have a very good perspective of like city versus rural life, and I understand both wants and needs, and I understand like the laws they're trying to pass. I'm like, guys, if you would just get together, like if the city would come to the country every once in a while and not try to impose themselves on the country, but see how they live, and then the city folk go into the city and don't have a judgy mindset and try to understand, this country would be so much more together.
What you just said, try to understand.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big perspective thing, right? Is people will spend so much time judging someone, but they've never asked them their story.
Yep.
They've never asked them what makes them them.
Yep.
And you look at and you can judge so much about people, and you can look at someone and be like, oh, they've had the perfect life, the perfect like upbringing and all this kind of stuff, when truth is that person struggled, that person probably got yelled at, that person probably may have had some misconduct in their life or whatever. Like, no one has a perfect story.
Yep.
Like, I've never met a single person that's like, oh wow, nothing happened.
Yeah.
Like, your life was absolutely perfect.
Yep.
It just doesn't happen.
Well, I don't think human nature works that way either. Like,
Right.
even like just on perspective base, if somebody that has a really great life compared to what I or somebody in a lower situation will look at, that person would feel like, oh, something's wrong. Like, as humans, I think we find the bad things and we gravitate toward them, and we don't realize the good things we have.
Right.
So even the somebody that grew up with a silver spoon in their mouth, it's like, well, like, it wasn't gold.
Right.
You know, like, or something. And to us, prospectively, like, bro, you grew up with a silver spoon in your mouth, you know? But to them, it's like, they don't feel included because all their friends have gold spoons.
Right.
Right? And that's why they went down a different path.
Right, and let alone we're over here with like our wood spoons being like, bro, like, can I just get something that works?
Yep.
Like,
but that's
wood spoon's got holes in it. Like,
yeah, exactly. But that's like the kind of stuff that I see, like, okay, I understand why you feel like you're an outcast in the gold spoon room.
Right.
Because you had the silver spoon.
Right.
The same way I can understand why the guy with the wood spoon felt like he was an outcast in the room with the silver spoons.
Yeah.
Like, it's all just perspective.
Absolutely.
Right? So I get that. And you go country, rural, city, wherever you're at, different countries. Like, I try to understand that perspective.
Yeah.
And I think, like, me and you, kind of understanding your upbringing now and, like, understanding, we have, like, this tendency to be like, I'm okay with being different.
Yeah.
Like, almost prideful of being different and, like, happy to be different.
Yeah. I mean, I've stuck out my entire life. Why stop now? You know what
Yep.
I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it don't make any sense.
Yeah, like, I don't know what you call your hat, if it's like the Treadwell or if there's actually like name for that.
I don't
like,
think there's a date. Like I said, ever since those videos have been going crazy, I have gotten condom head. I've gotten what's the other one? People think I look like a fire hydrant. But it's all in good fun. Like, I know that, like, some people that, like, like, I don't know. Comments are weird because there's no context to how people are saying them. So, like, some, like, the first 50 hurt, and then the next 500, you're like, oh, okay, you're kind of funny.
Yeah.
And, like, for me, in that moment, I was like, this hat I just liked. I liked the way that it looked. Like, I just did it one day, and then I just started doing all my hats like that.
Yeah.
But the weird thing is I only wear it in the winter.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really serve any purpose to me in the winter because it's not up on my ears. And, like, everyone's like, would you grow up and roll your hat down? And I'm like, bro, I'd like it. Can I just like it?
But,
you know what I mean?
But
like,
you embrace, like, being different.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why, kind of like at these events, I embrace wearing a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
And I think in the end, people recognize, like, oh, he's different, but he's also, like, he's happy being different.
Yeah.
And they're like, I kind of want that for my own because I think everybody kind of feels that they don't fit in, ultimately in every crowd. So they're like maybe I can be part of his crowd.
Yeah, you spend so much time trying to be the same fish, swimming down the same path to, like, not to be, like, towards success when, like, if you just take a second to, like, be honest with yourself and be real with yourself, that's when you're comfortable in your skin no matter where you are, what you're doing.
Yep.
Like, I don't care that anybody says anything about my hat.
Dude,
no matter what my clapbacks in the comments are, like, I really don't care.
Well, you're doing pretty good on social media right now, right? And it's just kind of the beginning early on for you. I mean, I know you've been doing it for about 2 years, but I would make a prediction in the next 5 years, that's going to become a style. Seriously.
You heard it here first, guys.
Yeah, no, I'm serious because people want to be part of something so bad that when they see something that's different, and I think that's why you're probably one of the reasons you're probably doing well. Not that, and on the top of your content doing well and being engaging, they're gonna be like, man, I'm gonna start wearing my hat like that because at least me and him will be able to connect.
Yeah, and like I don't know what I would do if it's not like I'm the only person that wears a hat like this, right?
Yeah.
Like there are definitely people that do, but like right now, like at WealthCon, if I were to go downstairs and I saw someone with a hat like this, I would be like, what's going on? What are you doing? This is my thing. You know what I mean? But like that happened to you at this WealthCon where I saw somebody else with a cowboy hat.
Well, actually,
you guys are actually friends, though, right?
Tadas, he actually came down to the ranch.
Okay.
And he's always been like a big fan of mine of like, just like fan of like friendship.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Let me give you one of my hats.
Oh, so
and he was like,
gave him
like, I don't want this, and I'm like, no, I want you to have it.
Oh.
He's like, I'm gonna wear this at WealthCon.
Heck
and
yeah.
I'm like, please do. Like, I would love for you to be in the room.
That's so
that
beautiful.
On.
Okay.
Yep.
I didn't know. See, that's a story that I don't think most people would have known. They'd be like, oh, look at these guys. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But I mean, we're also, this is the 5th WEFCon that has happened in the last 2 years, right? I think it's the 5th one I've been to.
Yeah, probably the 5th one. This is my 4th one.
Yeah.
I've skipped a couple.
Okay. So that being said, I also think that the crowd of people, I'm starting to like know people, right? Like the people that are here, and I'm like, okay, like I actually know most of the people that are here, and it's becoming more of this family type unit where we're moving forward as like one another. And I think that is a beautiful thing that Ryan's building.
Yep.
Like I think that he has a very clear vision and he is laser focused on it, and he has a team around him that's going to stop at nothing to get that vision made clear for him. And I think that's beautiful. And I'm just grateful to be able to be around because like I get to just experience and talk to awesome people and like get to just know cool people and meet people that are like-minded but also challenge me at the same time.
Yep.
Where I actually had a conversation with Lewis, who I believe was one of the speakers earlier today, and he was telling me, he's like, like-minded people don't get you anywhere. And I asked him, I was like, what do you mean by that? And he was like, if you have a bunch of people that think the same way, like identically, it's like you just got Dumb and Dumber. And I was like, okay, expand. And he's like, imagine it like this, where if you have two people that have the same morals, drive, like that's the same, and then you're able to challenge each other's ideas to get to the best version of what that idea is, that's your crew that can lead you into the fire and lead you through anything.
Yep.
And I was like, bro, I wasn't ready for that. I'm like, it's like 11:30.
Yeah. Well, no, I think that's what I consider like-minded people, though, around me. Mm-hmm. So, like, I understand his point, but at the same time, I'm like, that's the like-minded people I'm looking for.
Right.
Like my good buddy Brian that you just met. Mm-hmm. Like, I tell, like, when we first became friends, I would tell him something. He'd be like, yeah, cool, man, cool. And then, like, a month later, he'd be like, I really didn't like that idea when you told me, but I wanted to support you. And I'm like, bro, that's not what I want.
Yeah.
I want you to tell me
Yeah.
when I'm being stupid.
Absolutely.
Like, I respect you. I value your opinion. I'm telling you this not because I'm like, hey, man, I want to share a cool idea with you and for you to give me...
Don't yes man me, bro.
Yeah.
But I feel like that happens to a lot of people where it's like you have some awesome things going for you already. You've got like maybe one or two, and then you're like, well, I could do this third thing, and then 100%. I'll do this fourth thing, and then I'll do this fifth thing. And by the time you've got all these things going on, you have no energy to make sure that all of them are getting the proper love that they deserve. Like for me, I also own a clothing brand, but I have like shut it down like prematurely, or not prematurely, but for now, because I just don't have the bandwidth for it. The product's not where I want it to be. The packaging's not where I want it to be. It's not doing what I want it to do, and that's my fault. I have no one to blame but myself.
Yep.
So why would I continue to waste money, time, and effort over here when I can just take a second to breathe, finish out some of the stuff that I'm building right now, and look at that when I have a clean eye on it, and I can be like, okay, how do I reintroduce this to the world but better, and the vision that I originally intended to build?
Yeah. Is it the hat company?
Coming soon.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No,
dude, I think actually going back to that, I think you should really promote that.
The hats?
The hats. Like, I know you're doing merch and stuff, and you're building this whole brand. Now's not the right time, I don't think. Like, I'm not saying go out tomorrow and start doing it. But I think when you start seeing people wear them, like they buy their beanie and they roll it up, and you see that for the first time, I understand your initial reaction to it is going to be like, bro, that's my thing. Get that hat off. But I really think you should be like, I'm happy that people have found a place.
Yeah.
Where
and it's in my world.
It's in my world.
And I want people, anyone that does wear a hat like that, to feel like you can come talk to me at any time because I will listen.
Yeah.
Just because I'll be more like confused, or I'll be more like, did you do it so you could talk to me?
Now you're just going to have a bunch of people doing it so they can talk to you. Yeah.
It's cool. I always got time
I'm
for
going to be showing
everybody.
up the next one with a hat like that so I can talk to you.
I'll just show up with a cowboy hat and see what happens. Yeah. Just throw people off completely.
Yeah. That's fine. No, but I think you should embrace it because not only could it be a great business, and it could be like you'd be surprised. I think at some point you're going to be like, dude, I just sold my 200,000th rolled up beanie.
So here's the interesting thought process about it is if I were to do it, I think I would tag them. Like a tag around here.
It
would have to hold it together, right?
Yeah, like
because I self-roll these every day.
Yep.
Like if they fall down, like you'll see me do it. Like I'll do this.
Yep.
And I'll just keep it tight on my head.
You need to call it the Treadwell or something like. Be like, bro, you wearing the Treadwell? Is that the Treadwell? Is that the new Treadwell that just came out?
Actually, Treadwell's not. I've always wanted to do some branding with my last name.
Yeah.
And I was originally going to call my clothing brand Treadwell. So.
I think just the hat.
Just the hat.
It's the Treadwell. Mm-hmm. That way we don't have to worry about condom head and fire hydrant.
Let's see how long that takes to catch on.
If you put a name on it, then you get the name, right? Like that's Fair the enough. Name. Okay. Like no, that's the Treadwell. Like haha, funny, but it's a Treadwell. Mm-hmm. But anyways, where can people follow you at?
Nerd Alert Kyle on everything. Okay. So that's
YouTube.
Nerd Alert Kyle, and the YouTube, our Nerd Alert podcast, and our shorts are also at Nerd Alert. I think it is just Nerd Alert, but if you want to search the handle, it's like at nerdalert.world. So
cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on, man, and I always appreciate your friendship and the conversations we have.
Likewise, brother.